Yo, sup everyone? I hope I am audible. Just let me quickly check this and then we can start the stream. And yes, I am. Awesome. So today you may have noticed this when I just shared the screen for a few seconds. And you can also see this from the title. So today we have another session that is about GitHub, and we are going to talk about version control system. Hey Sebastian, welcome to the stream. So yeah, we are going to talk about all about version control system. So I did I did tell this in the last week that this is going to be a complete series on GitHub, and this is the second episode. So if in case you are someone that joined for the very first time, I missed out the previous session, so please do check that on YouTube. I think on Twitch it might not be available, so tune into our YouTube channel and you can find it there. It was like a refresher if you know a little bit about a little bit about GitHub. So that is something that you can use as a refresher to get an idea and refresh your skill, refresh your knowledge about GitHub and Git as well. So yeah, today we are going to talk about just version control system. Hey Daman, good to see you here. So if you're that Daman who I am thinking about, even if you're not, still good to see you. But yeah, okay. So we are going to talk about version control system. What is it? Why do we need it? And what's the importance? So awesome. So good to see you then. And yeah, so let's just jump into it. Let me share my screen. And awesome. So all right, so let's talk about it. The way I designed these slides is that I'm going to first talk about like that traditional way, like how your life is going to be, like how your life, the life of the coders or the engineers or the programmer was before version control system. And then I'm going to introduce the version control system. What is it? And then I'm going to talk about like how it solves the problems. And then there are some types of version control systems. So I am also going to talk about that. So let's jump into it. Okay, so let's talk about the traditional way. So imagine you're working in a software house, or maybe if you're a student. So imagine you're working on your final year project, and you have like two teammates. So like as I mentioned, they are A, B, C. So you may be A, B, or C. And since all of you are working on the same project, so maybe like one of you started with a boilerplate, and that boilerplate was shared with everyone. Now, since all of you are working on the same project but on different computer or machines, so you have your own copy of the whole project, which I represented with these folders. Now, you have these folders and you're working on this. For example, person A is working on some bug fixes, person B is working on introducing some new features, and person C is also introducing some new features. Maybe person B is working on login feature, and person C is working on settings or contact us page, and person A is fixing some UI UX issues on the homepage. Now, once these issues are fixed or these features are introduced, what's next? The thing is that they have to, or maybe even if the whole project is completed somehow, they have to merge like all of their contribution and make one single project for that. So that is not possible in a traditional way. So you have to hire someone, or you need to have someone who can look into these three projects, because every project has their own changes. So you need a human to look into these projects and look into these folders and see which part was changed by whom, and then merge that. And then once all this part is done, so then that person can make a single project for that. This is a huge headache, and this is something that's going to take a lot of time. For example, one person made some changes in the index.html, the other person made some changes in the contact, the other person did some changes in the index as well. So like two people did some changes in the index, and both of these changes are on different lines. So this person who is here at the top, this person needs to go through all of these files in the individual projects and has to check all of these changes. So that is not a not something that you would like to do, because this is like a huge headache. And other problem is that you also have to figure out like what's the best way to share these projects with this person. Let me open my eraser pointer with this person. So that is also an issue. You have to either WhatsApp it, you have to either send it on via email, or you have to like physically use a USB drive and then share that with that person. So this is not an efficient way. So that is one of the issue with the traditional way. Moving on. So here, I have like considered, like I have the project, and these are like the changes. So of course, like in the actual project, these the changes are not something like this, like 1 year ago and then 8 months ago, 6 months ago, but like consider these are like some of the changes. Now 1 year ago, 8 months ago, and then 6 months ago, 1 day ago, these are all the changes. Now you just figure out that there is some bug in your project, and you have to find that what changes caused that. It may be the changes that you did 1 day ago, it may be the changes that you did 1 year ago. In that traditional way, in that traditional approach, that is something not possible in the first case. Even though even if you still find that bug, so let's say that bug existed, that bug was because the changes that you made 8 months ago, maybe some internee joined your team and he messed up with your code, so 8 months ago, and now you figured out that okay, that was there, some internee joined your team, and then chances are that his code is or her code messed up with the whole project. So now you don't know what changes that person made 8 months ago. The only thing you know is that there were some changes that was made by that person, that internee, 8 months ago, but you have no idea what files were changed and what exact lines and how many lines of code was changed. So you're stuck here. You have no idea about how to fix this. So that is another issue with the traditional way. Now, moving on. So consider the same example: 1 year ago, 8 months ago, 6 months ago, 1 day ago. And you have to, for some reason, for XYZ reason, you have to see what were those changes 8 months ago. So if you're not using version control system, as I said before, you have no idea about this, which means that once you do the changes, like for example, forget about 8 months, you can't even see the changes that you made like 3 days ago. If you know about it, if that person who did the changes has other details stored in his brain, in that case you can see that. But taking help from the machine, taking help from the project, taking help from your computer, this is something not possible. So how to fix this? Again, this is something not possible at all with that traditional way. So that is again a huge problem. So this is something not possible at all. Now, what does this mean? This means that the traditional way, the approach that the life before version control system was full of problems. You can't see the code, you can't see the bugs, you can't fix the bug, you can't collaborate on the projects, and like a lot of the issues. Thank God I'm born after. I'm working on these projects. Like I'm coding after we have VCS, version control system, as my life would have been hectic as well, and messed up. So yeah, traditional way is totally messed up. Traditional way, project without version control system is full of problems. So we have the version control system that act as a savior to fix all of these issues and all of these problems for us. So now, how does this work? And like what exactly is the version control system? We did go through the few problems that we had which is like you can't see the changes, you can't fix the bugs, you can't collaborate. There are much more about, like you cannot back up the files, which I did not mention. So these are like not limited to these three options, or to these three problems I mentioned or I talked about. They are much more than that. But yeah, these are like three of the main problems. So here is version control system. So version control system is something that helps us to manage the changes that you do over time in your project. So what exactly are these changes? So let's talk about that. So here are a few of the changes. Here are a few of the problems that it can fix. Here are a few of the things that you can do with a version control system. So for example, as I talked about, you are working on the project, and also if there is any question that you have in mind, feel free to ask that. I'm continuously looking at the chat section, so yeah, if you have any question, feel free to ask that. So talking about the version control system and the features it have, so you can, with the version control system, you can collaborate on the project. With the version control system, you can view the changes, you can keep a history, you can keep the backups. Now, what exactly like all these terms mean? So about the collaboration, as I talked before, in the traditional way, you need to have a person who has to do all of these changes. So that is one thing. View changes. So you need to have you in a traditional way, you cannot fix, you cannot see the changes that someone made 8 months ago, 1 year ago, or maybe 1 day ago. But with the version control system, you can even see the changes that happened like 5 years ago, or maybe 10 years ago. So that's another thing. And also keeping a history, so you have like all the records, and also the backups. I'm going to talk more about this in the upcoming slides. So yeah, so we did talk about like the collaboration in the traditional way. So let's talk about like how it works in the version control system way. So we have again these three people, they have their own projects. Now these projects, since we have the version control system, so you don't need a human to look into these projects individually and see the changes and then merge that. You can just simply push those changes to a repository, and I'm sure all of you know about the repository because that is something I did talk about in the previous session as well. But in case you don't know, so repository is like I consider it as a project with some super special power. So you just need to push these changes to the repository, and version control system is something that helps you to look at these different changes and figure out which file and what files and what line number will change, and then it fixes that. So you don't need a human here. It is something that's automatically happen thanks to the version control system. And yeah, that's that easy. So like that whole task of looking at these different projects and figuring out what's going on and all those kind of things, that is something that is being managed by a version control system. So you don't need to do all that manually. Now moving on. So again, you have that same picture we had. Illustration 1 year ago, the changes, and then 8 months ago, 6 months ago, 1 day ago, and then you have the current project. So you want to see what changes happened 8 months ago. Again, some internee joined your company 8 months ago and did some changes, and now it's been 8 months that those changes happened. So now you have to see what exact changes were made by that person. So you can see that, and you may be asking, what are the things that, or what are the changes that you can see? So you can see the author, the date and time, and the code changes. Other lines, number of lines that was changed are exact lines. So who did that change? That is known as the author. The date and the time and exact number of lines are the exact code changes that happen. So we talked about this in the previous session, that when you're writing your code, or when you install your GitHub, when you start Git locally, you have to add, when you're making your first commit, you have to add your name and the username. Those are the details that's saved once you make a commit. So those are the details that's saved in the author section. And then whenever you make a commit, so those changes are that date and time is recorded, and then all those changes that you make are considered as a code changes. So these are like the commits, and then you can look into individual commit and you can see the author, you can see the date and time, and you can see the code changes. One other thing to keep in mind is that there might be multiple authors. So for example, if you made some changes and you push that code and you made a pull request, and then, so for those of you who don't know about pull request, so pull request is something like you made some changes and you pushed it and you want these changes to be merged and reflected in the actual project, in the main project. So you cannot directly make the changes in the main project or in the main branch. The good practice is that you make the changes, you do the changes, and then you make a request, which is called pull request, to pull those changes and push that or reflect that or add that to the main branch, to the main repository. So that is called pull request. So when you open a pull request, there may be some comments from the maintainer, and also maybe the maintainer tries to help you so do some changes. So in that case, there are going to be multiple authors. So in the VSC, in the version control system, with the help of version control system, you can see that, you can see the author, you can see the date and time, and you can see the code changes that happen. So then with the help of VCS, you can see the other changes that happened even like five years ago. So it makes the life quite easy. Moving on. So this is something that we were talking about in the traditional way. So you have like all those changes, and 8 months ago there was some changes that happened. You only know about 8 months ago someone did some changes, and that is something that's causing some issues like right now. So how to fix this? With the help of VCS, you can dig into it, as I said here. So like you can see the specific commit, like you can see 8 months ago what kinds or what number what code was changed, and you can dig into that, and then you can remove that code. If you want, you can modify that code. So that is something that helps you to fix that. So you can simply remove that commit as a whole, or maybe you can modify that and do some code changes or tweaks, and you can fix that. You can fix a bug easy. So that is another benefit of using version control system. Now, the last benefit is that, for example, you are working on a project and you, by mistake, you deleted some folders, right? For example, if I delete these folders, and these were like super important for my project. Now, in the traditional way, once you delete these, if you have them in your bin folder, you may restore that. But if you don't have, and you permanently delete those folders, there is no way you can access these folders, and they're permanently gone. How can you fix this? With the help of version control system, you can get back to the local commit or to the previous commit, and you can fix those changes. So even if you delete some files which are like super important and you were not supposed to delete those files, you can fix this. If you delete some files and like maybe one day ago, if you deleted some files like 1 year ago, you can also fix those. You can also get into that 1 year ago changes, and you can look into these files, and you can restore all these files. So that is something that you can do with version control system. So that means that version control system helps us to fix all of these issues, and it helps us to make our life much easier, which is something that was like a complete headache without version control system. So these are some of the things that you can do with version control system. So we talked about like the problems there was before version control system, which was you cannot collaborate on the project if you have multiple people. For example, like you are working on your open source project, or you are working on the final year project, and you have multiple people. So the first thing is you have to figure out what are the how can you share the code among each other. That is one way. That is one thing that you need to figure out. The second thing is that you need to figure out how to like every person is going to do some changes, so how can you merge those changes. So you have to either find someone, a fourth person or a third person that can look into these changes, and it's, as a human, if you have to do this, that is a whole headache, and I'm sure you will never ever want to do this. So yeah, that's about the collaboration issue. You will have the collaboration issue. Then we talk about how uh, if you have some bug that you figure out was like from 8 months ago, you have no way to fix that because you have no idea about what changes happen in the 8 weeks ago. And then the last part was if you have deleted some files, you have no way to restore that with in that traditional way. And then if you want to see what changes you made 1 year ago, you have no way to do that. Even like if you want to see what changes was happening like 1 day ago, you can also not see that. And you can also, like, in the version control system, you can see what for example, if I'm working with you, so you can see what changes I made like from the starting of the project. So maybe we can see this right now on the GitHub. I can give you like a quick idea of few of these things that may make more sense. But just to complete the revision, I'm going. So yeah, these are some of the issues that we have in the traditional way, and those are the issues that has been fixed with the version control system. So one thing is that so one of the way is you can do the collaboration. Another thing is if you delete some files, you can also fix that and restore those files. You can see the specific commit 1 year ago, 5 years ago, 5 days ago, 5 days ago, 5 months ago, etc. And you can also see in individual person code changes throughout the project from the starting till today. So these are the few of the things. One more thing before I jumped into like maybe we can see some actual project, and we can talk about like all of these changes. Not all, but a few of these. That is something that we can see through through a GitHub. So let's talk about the types. So there are two types of version control system: centralized and distributed. A centralized version control system is something that has like a one center, that has a one specific place, or a central copy of the project where you can pull some files, but it's always going to be like that central place where you have to eventually move the file. So you pull the files that you need, but you cannot have the full copy of your project locally in your local disk. So that is a centralized version control system. An example of this is Subversion, SVN. So that's one of the example of that. Talk about the distributed system. An example of a distributed system is Git, which I am pretty sure all of you know about because that's like the most popular version control system. So in a distributed version control system, you don't need a centralized place. You can get the whole project and you can use it. And you can get it in your local disk. This is something that we do every time. For example, if you want to work on a project, what you do is that simply you do git clone and then copy add the path, and that downloads the whole project for you, including all the details of the git and all the history and every single thing. So that is something that happens in the distributed system, whereas that's not in the centralized system. That is not possible. So these are the two things. These are the two types of version control system. So now maybe I can give you an idea of like these few things. For example, this code changes part. This. So like if you have the whole list of if you have like a whole list of commits, if you want to see some specific commit, so maybe I can go to open, let's say maybe React.js, and we can check the files here in React.js. So I just opened the React documentation website, and here are all the commits that this project has, which is more than 5,000. Now, as I said, you can see what changes happened like 5 days ago, 5 months ago, 5 years ago. So this is like the whole list of the projects. So in case you want to see like what happened 10 days ago, here is an example. So commit on January 29, and here is the commit. So this commit has the name who did this change, which is Dan Abramov, the creator of Redux. And this commit has also the date, which is 10 days ago. Every commit has a specific unique ID, which we call a hash code, which is this. And this also has other code changes. So in this case, this config.yaml from Saga CI file was deleted. Let's look at some other change where we can see the code changes actually. Yeah, this is a good example. So again, this was also done by Dan 7 days ago, and here you can see other changes. So like here are all the changes that happens. This changes were happened in the use state.markdown file, and yeah, so like these are all of the changes that happen. So that is one of the example, which is something that's not possible if you do not have a version control system. So that's one thing. The other thing is you can also see an individual, like this is more of a filter example of what I just talked about, but this is something that's also possible. For example, if I want to see all of the changes that happened by Dan, so I can simply click on his name, and here I can see all of the examples, all of the commits that happened by him. So in case you have some new internee and you want to see his progress over the 6 months, or like any other his superior phantom who has joined from Facebook, from YouTube. I hope you're doing well. So we are talking about the version control system and how it makes your life much easier. So yeah. So suppose you have an internee that joined 6 months ago, and now it's time to like do an evaluation of the performance based on his number of commits, for example. It's not a good example of like evaluating someone on number of commits, because a commit can be small or large, maybe one line of code or 1,000 lines of code. But just for an example and understanding, so you have to evaluate that person based on the number of commits. So you can see that on, so like I'm doing this on GitHub, but this is something that's also possible on on your local system machine as well. So like you can see all of the commits that happen, and you can then go to the individual commit and see those changes. So I did talk about much more than that. Like for example, I talked about like if you delete some files, so how can you restore that? Those are the things that we will be doing in the upcoming sessions, where we will be time traveling, which means that we will be going back in the history, and for example, if we will be going back to like previous 2 commits, or previous 3 commits, something like that. So yeah, that is something that we will be doing, and this is to give you a general idea about version control system, like the life before version control system, and how it made our life much easier now. So heavy. All right, so that was pretty much it about the version control system and the benefits. And as I said, we are going to see this in practical in action in the upcoming sessions. As I said this in the previous stream as well, that this is going to be a whole series of episodes. This is going to be like a whole series of different episodes where we will be covering a lot of things, including like how that .git folder that's created once you do git init, or you initialize a repository, how that works, and what are the files there. So that's we are going to have a lot of things in this series. So yep, if you have any question, feel free to ask that here in the comment section. Meanwhile, if someone is going to ask the question, so we, yeah, you may have noticed like there is this MLH fellowship logo like in the initial image that was showing on the screen. So yeah, this session is basically for MLH fellowship, but yeah, and also public for everyone as well. So if you're curious to know more about MLH fellowship, please head over to this website, this link, which is, I'm going to share this in the chat right now, to learn more about MLH fellowship. And so basically, MLH fellowship is a 12 weeks of program which helps you to get your hands dirty on some real world projects. And by real world projects, I mean that in actual project like React.js, Next.js, like these actual projects, and you will be supported and have you will have a maintainer that works on that project. So yeah, it's something that's quite interesting. So yeah, if you do not know about the fellowship yet, so go check out this link, and I'm pretty sure you will find this interesting. Again, if there is any question, feel free to ask that. If you're not asking the question, I assume that I explained it pretty much right. So you either get everything or you got nothing. But yeah, I will assume that you got everything in case you're not asking questions. So that is it. One last thing, and this is more of a favor that I need from you folks who are still here. That is, if you can quickly complete this survey, this is going to literally take just 20 minutes of your life. But this helps us a lot to save the time. This helps us a lot to improve our future sessions, and this helps us to improve the experience. So if you're figuring this out, you're playing an important role in to help us to get an idea of like how to shape and how to present our upcoming streams and upcoming sessions. So if you're figuring this out, this means that you're playing an important role to making this session more awesome and more amazing. So yeah, I'm not going away till you complete this survey, this quick survey, and believe me, it's just going to take like 20 minutes. In case you are like a fast typer, it's going to take like 10 seconds maybe. Yeah, it's going to take 20 seconds, not 20 minutes. Yeah, so I can see 13 people in the audience, so I do expect that I get 13 responses. And yep, that's pretty much it. I am going to wait for a few minutes so that everyone fill this, because this is just going to take 20 seconds, as I said earlier. And please do check out the fellowship link, which I shared as well in the chat. And if you have any question, again, feel free to ask that in the chat. But yeah, this is a whole series, and if you're someone that has joined for today for the very first time, I have not watched the previous session on the GitHub. So please do check that on YouTube, and also stay tuned for the next stream that will be happening most probably on next Monday, where we will continue this whole series, and most probably we are going to talk about how to work with the terminal, and then we are going to talk about the branches, and then we are going to talk about the time traveling and all those sort of things. So yep, that's something that we have planned for the future. So excited to do all this. I hope you're as well. And yep, I do expect that most of you have filled this. There are still some of you that have not filled this, so please do this right now. And yeah, I'm going to let you listen to this music and vibe with me. And yeah, please do fill out this survey, and then see you in the next stream. Till then, have a good day.